So last time we were looking at the Art College and the Liverpool Institute, LIPA. So let's now move back to Hope Street. We're going to go and find where John Lennon spent time. He shared a flat with Stuart Sutcliffe, and just go and explore this little area. And down there is the Art College, and that's why he wants to live in this area, because it was close to the college, in the shadow of Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral. Now, although this looks old, this was only completed in 1978, so when John and Stuart were living at Gambier Terrace, they were seeing this cathedral under construction. So this in here is Gambier Terrace. Now, the actual address that Rod and Stuart lived at was number 3 Hillary Mansions, to give it its proper title, which is just down here. So Rod and Stuart moved in here, a couple of girls from the Art College, Diz and Ducky, moved in, and then of course John Lennon moved in, gave him somewhere for a bit of privacy with Cynthia, and this just became the hangout for the Silver Beatles. So here is number 3, and the lads had their flat just up there. Now, you may have seen some photos from 1960, one of Alan Williams' great ideas, which was to have a national newspaper show how the beatnik generation lived, but the place just was trashed, so it was not a great idea. Same with a lot of Alan's ideas, unfortunately. There's a little garden outside which has been paid for and has been planted in Stuart's memory, which not many people realise. But it was a really important place. So the Silver Beatles, as they were first named, they used to practice in here. This is the most likely place where, when they were trying to get rid of the Quarrymen name and think, oh, what do we call ourselves, that Stuart suggested Beatles, because Beatles was like crickets, and Buddy Holly and crickets were, of course, their heroes. There was also the story of the man on the flaming pie. Look out for that one in a future video, and I'll tell you all about that. So Gambier Terrace, this was ideal. They could get up and just mosey on down to the Art College. And John Lennon, as we know with his song I'm Only Sleeping, he was, as well as being quite inherently lazy, didn't like getting up in the morning. So even though he had the short walk from his flat here to go just down to the Art College, he would still be late. As we leave Gambier Terrace, nestled there behind the trees and bushes, now we're going to go into Huskisson Street. Now, Huskisson is named after one of Liverpool's MPs, William Huskisson. Quite a tragedy in a way, because Liverpool had the first passenger intercity railway system in the world, went between Liverpool and Manchester, and on the day it opened, everybody was there. The rocket, designed by George Stephenson, of course, had won the trials, and William Huskisson was so excited he decided to cross over the train tracks and hadn't judged for the speed of the train and got knocked down and killed. So on the launch of the first train, yeah, we have the first casualty, Liverpool's William Huskisson MP. But why are we in Huskisson Street? Well, very important building coming up very, very soon, and that's at number 22. And 22 Huskisson Street is where the Stanleys had lived. So the Stanleys, of course, John Lennon's maternal family, and they all lived around this area and were born in the Dingle area, all the sisters. This was one of the houses, but then it crops up again when the Beatles were the Silver Beatles. In 1960, they helped to move one of their tutors into the house at 22 Huskisson Street. And what they did was they helped move the furniture in, and then they put on a housewarming party, and the Silver Beatles, still without a drummer, performed a number of songs in this house. Bet Lennon didn't even know where he was. And so we swing around from Huskisson Street, this beautiful Georgian quarter of Liverpool, and we're in Percy Street. And let's go and find where Stuart Sutcliffe lived with Rod Murray, and where he was invited to join this new group which would become known as the Beatles. This was 9 Percy Street, and the important place really for Rod and Stuart, but then for John, Paul and George, they would visit here on quite a few occasions. And it was in here that John, Paul and George said to Rod and to Stuart, "I'll tell you what, why don't one of you buy a bass guitar and then you can join the group we're putting together?" Well, neither of them could afford that, and so Rod started making one, which only got so far. And of course Stuart, what he did was exhibited a painting in the John Moores exhibition that was purchased by John Moores, gave him the money to buy a bass guitar. This became the place to be. What Stuart would do is when he had a girlfriend, he would paint their portraits. When that relationship finished and he moved on to another girl, he'd paint over the original one. How romantic. So they were here for a little while, but they sort of decided to escape, and they went round the corner to Gambier Terrace, which is probably the most famous of the flats Stuart lived in. But not a good idea, because just being round the corner, the landlady from Percy Street came round to find them, because what they'd been doing was cutting up and burning the furniture to keep themselves warm in the fire. So of course they had to repay her. She was not impressed.